Welcome back to the Level Up Life Muscle and Mindset Mastery. Today's episode's a powerful one. I'm joined by none other than Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. Man who doesn't just wear the badge, but lives out his mission through action, integrity, and unmatched passion for people, which I can relate to. We'll dive into our shared love for fitness, how movement isn't just about building muscle, it's about shaping mindset, the discipline that goes along with that, and purpose. We also tackle some real talk about recidivism, justice reform, and the work being done to break cycles, not just punish behavior. This one's full of fire, heart, and hard truths. Let's get into it.
Amen to that, brother.
Yes. So thank you for coming on.
Right on.
Really
Beautiful
appreciate
Midland,
it.
Michigan.
Yes, Midland.
Just about 49 miles north of the city of Flint. I'm here, brother.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
9 years off script, you're telling me, man. 9 years clean.
Yeah.
That's huge, brother.
Yep.
There's a lot of folks out there that can relate to you, that have their own journey, but when they look at you, you're hope, man. So just I want to say right out of the gate, man, good job.
I appreciate that coming from law enforcement.
That's right.
With my background.
Right.
Whenever law enforcement's supportive of recovery, it's really cool.
Right on, man. All right. So what was your question? Sorry.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You're married.
Yeah.
Do you have any kids?
I do. I've been married 31 years this July.
Okay.
23rd.
Congratulations.
I met her in jail. How about that?
Is she an inmate?
I usually let that settle.
Yep.
No, my girl was a social worker.
Okay.
And we met in 1993. I got hired June 2nd, 1993, which means next month I'll start my 33rd year on the job.
So I was 8.
There you go, brother. And
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah. No.
But I got a young head, man,
Yeah.
and vitality is key, which is where the fitness comes in. But I met my wife then, and we got married in 1994. I got 2 boys. My oldest lives in Florida. He's in dental school. He's married. He's 26. My youngest is going to turn 24 on May the 4th, and he's getting married. Man, my boys, if I drop dead tomorrow, they're going to have a great life. They have a great heart. They're leaders. They're just good men.
Yeah. Comes from you. You raised them, right?
Listen, man, it's a joint effort, man.
Yeah.
It's mom, dad, it's friends, it's, bringing them up in, biblical truth and understand about, taking care of people that you can give nothing back, serving without expectations. I've taken my boys to foreign countries since they were 13 years old to serve and just build and see pure poverty and pain. And that's what shaped who they are right now.
Yeah. It gives you, so I'm big on gratitude, and doing that type of service work makes you really, really grateful for what we have here in the United States, especially. But we were talking off script about my time in jail, and some of my gratitude lists are simply, we have a toilet. They give us meals. I got a bed. So some people in the world don't have that, which is really unfortunate, and always makes me look at my life wherever I've been at with gratitude.
Yeah.
So
I have a statement that I've said, and I want to get shirts made. I don't have the right to have a bad day. And in being in police work, as long as I've been in, and I saw my first violent death at 18 years old, and then I got hired full time at 20, and I became a paramedic when I was 20. I'm still a licensed medic. I became an officer when I was 21. I was on a dope team right out of the police academy, and I've seen, especially in the city of Flint and Genesee County, so much death and violence and so much brokenness and pain and suffering. I do not have the right to have a bad day. That's what I tell myself.
right.
And there's, just like you said, you look far enough, you realize somebody's got it worse. So you better buck up and just be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have 4 stepsons too. It's awesome having kids, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a big responsibility because now they're looking at you and they're modeling what they're doing about how you handle things that come your way, things you can control and things you can't control.
yeah, and just the little talks with them, throughout the journey, explaining budgeting and that type of stuff. It's really rewarding just to guide people.
For sure, man.
And that's what I do for a living is I guide people.
Yeah.
Right. Big fitness.
Yeah.
Fitness is a huge
I
part of
see.
my recovery. Yeah. And fitness is a huge part of your
Huge,
life.
man. It wasn't always that way though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always struggled with weight my whole life, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I was a non-athletic kid. I played summer ball till I was in 9th grade, and I was good. I was a center fielder, a power hitter, tied Jason Sabedra with home runs my last year. Then I transferred from like a farm community school in 8th grade to my parents moved to a big school in Grand Blanc in 9th grade, and I got cut from 9th grade baseball. And it devastated me. And I didn't compete for 14 years.
Oh.
And I decided, I got to get back into it. And I looked at myself and I started doing some running. And then I started doing some mini triathlons. And then I remember looking in 2020, it was January, I just said, man, I got to do something. And I signed up for my first bodybuilding show.
Okay.
In November of 2020. Check that. November of 2000. Nah, not 2020, 2000. Scratch that. And man, it just started this whole fitness routine. I did 4 shows and then I was doing marathon runs. And then what really changed my life was my Ironman in 2007, my first one.
So you've done 5 of those,
Yeah.
right?
It's crazy.
The mental strength that it takes to do that. I want to hear about how you get through that mentally, because at some point I know, and I was just explaining this to some people, your body is the first, your mind wants to give out before your body.
100%.
So it's all about up here that you have to cultivate in your training. I'm sure you did, but in that internal dialogue when you're in the thick of it, in the marathon, in the Ironman, you have to constantly push yourself.
You do?
Yeah. So I want to hear about that, like the experience of doing it.
Well, it started out a lot of what you do right now and your platform is I had a guy call me, Dr. Al Jansen, and he had just finished the 05 Ironman in Florida. And Ironman is 2.4 mile swim, 112 on a bike, and then a marathon, 26.2 miles, 140.6 total, right? And he just finished it, and I was working, and he called me over to his office, and he showed me his bib, he showed me his medal, and he told me the story. He just kind of like planted a seed. And he said, you should do it, bro. He goes, when you cross the finish line and they say your name and they say, you are an Ironman, he goes, there's something that just switches. And he kind of planted that seed. I signed up in 06 for the 07 Ironman in Florida, and he was right, man. I stood there on the beach. It was 7 a.m. Cannon goes off, and you just jump in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a double 1.2 mile loop. And then you come out, you jump on your bike, and you go 112. 14 hours, 11 minutes later, I heard what he told me. And then it set something inside of me ablaze, because you're right, it was a ton of pain, but it just created this dopamine dump where I thought, man, I could do this. And I had no intentions of doing more than one. And then I did Louisville in 09. I did Florida back again in 11. I did Wisconsin in 14. And then I just did my 5th one in Maryland at 51 years old a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And I tell you what, though, the race is difficult, but the training is even more difficult because nobody's pushing you.
Yep.
You got to swim when it's cold. You got to bike when it's wet and you're getting thrown off the road. And you got to put, a 60, 70 miler on a Saturday and then go live normal life. And then you got to run. It's the training, but then you put it all together. I always say this: prepare in peace to perform in chaos. Mm-hmm. And if you're not preparing in peace, which is a lot of what we're doing right now, just talking, then when chaos strikes, man, you forgot to read the instruction manual and you will lose.
Yeah. Yes. I can't say that I want to ever do an Ironman, but I really respect people who've done it, because I know the work that goes into it, right?
Right.
So it's dedication, discipline.
Listen, bro, you being 9 years clean is just as much of an Ironman as me running an Ironman, because the same thing applies. Yeah. It doesn't matter what. People building businesses, single moms raising kids, working 2 jobs. They're all Ironman-esque events. If you have to just gut it out and dig deep and do one after another, just keep moving forward, that's an Ironman.
Yeah. Well, so I go over and train the kids in the juvenile center and here in Midland, and I have what's called juggernaut lunges, and it's basically go until you can't anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just walking lunges nonstop. Yeah. So what I teach them during that is it's about mental resilience, because once you get started, you're going, that burn sets in a little bit longer. Your brain will start negotiating with you to try and quit. So I talk to them and tell them this is what's going to happen. And then when they start going through that process, I explain to them, this is where you cultivate your mental resilience. And when you're talking, I'm hearing would you say a 70-mile bike ride?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what
just basic, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, 100-miler training, by the time you're 3 months out, you better be at 100 miles.
Yeah, and the stuff we do in those moments in fitness training, it ripples out into every aspect of
does.
Life. You know, from my recovery, fitness has helped strengthen that.
Yeah.
My business, you know, when things have gotten hard, even the emotional roller coaster that is having a podcast, I think to those moments where I'm under a bar and I'm like, I got to get this last one.
Yeah.
And I fight through it, but I get it. And then it's that wave of achievement.
Yeah.
So
that's why we always say in bodybuilding, last rep, best rep.
Yep.
You know, that's where you grow right there when you're just putting it all on the line. And the best part of the Ironman is the last half mile, because you feel no more pain. You feel no more sickness. You just see them bright lights and you realize it was all worth it. And you're running down the chute. People are screaming.
I made it.
You did, man. And again, every time you do something where you put your mind to and you finish, then you can always go back and use that to help you in your next struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell a lot of people, maybe even your listeners today, if you feel like you're down and out, then a lot of times reflection back to what you've already come through can help you get through what you're going through.
Mm-hmm. And it's the mindset that you can, in those moments, if you can somehow maintain a growth mindset where you're like, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me.
Right.
Where I'm going to use this as a launch pad for the next thing, right? That's how I looked at a lot of, not even setbacks, but when I was in early recovery where I was frustrated because I'm trying to work, and the recovery court program is so rigorous that you have all these engagements that you have to attend. And so I was frustrated, you know, but that cultivated
your strength mindset,
the grit. And now a lot of the stuff I learned in that, I still apply to my daily day, you know, my activities today. Very structured, very scheduled out, allows me to, if those decisions are already made, then I have more bandwidth, mental bandwidth to apply to other things.
Yeah.
So.
Like you said, competing, and I've told everybody that I talk to for years, everybody should compete for what means the most to them. You should compete for your kids, your family, your freedom. You should compete for the things that mean the most to you. Because when you do that, it spills over into everything.
Yep.
But if you compete and you give up, that too spills over into everything.
Mm-hmm. So drug court or recovery court is really good at reducing recidivism.
Yeah.
And you have a program that's been studied by Oxford, Stanford, and
Harvard. Yeah.
So,
Oxford, Harvard, Brown, and Michigan did the study, but I spoke at Oxford in April of 2025, and then 82 countries are there, and the next day Jelly Roll flew out, and we spoke together in the same countries.
Jelly Roll,
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear about, we'll talk about Jelly Roll. I'm a big fan. But I want to hear about Ignite.
Ignite is, it's a concept that's a culture change. We started, it'll be 5 years this September 2025. We started at September 8th, 2020 on the heels of, you know, the George Floyd murder. And we did some things different in Flint that kind of sent a message around the world that, you know, you don't have to always go into conflict. You can hear righteous anger and respond. And it was a message that reached billions of people. That being said, I became the sheriff in 2020, and they were asking after the protest, what's next? And I thought, we're going to change the way we do jail. By that point, I had 27 years on the job. I'd see 3 generations come through the jails, you know, grandparents, parents, kids. Same thing you're talking about, generational incarceration, generational poverty, generational homelessness, generational addictions. It's like, man, we've been doing the same thing since 1836. And nobody leaves here better than when they came on average. Mm-hmm. So I knew what education did to me when I was in grad school at Michigan in 1998. I'd just come off a dope team, and I studied what reduces crime. And in 1998, I figured out through a thesis that it's not more cops, not harsher sentences, not more money. It's hope, value, education, and job placement. That's it. And so that seed was planted 2020 when I was asked what's next after we settled the riots. I said, we're going to change the way we do jail. So boom, we instigated it. And we started looking at the results. Within 90 days, we saw jail violence start plummeting to 90+%. Then we started seeing people and their mindset change. The staff, who was A lot of them were against it. It was completely unorthodox. And we didn't have any money. We didn't have any extra staff. We just changed the way we thought. But I kept tracking the data. Long story short, we did the first 6 months. We started seeing people really take it to heart. GEDs, diplomas, into work, serve safe programmers, certifications. They started, learning how to, eat better, financial literacy, all the things that people struggle with. And then we started celebrating anytime they achieve something. And that's the magic of Ignite, is that meritocracy. That, bro, you did a great job, a high five. Here's a honey bun and a can of pop.
Right.
Most people in jail have never been told, great job. 9 out of 10 people in jails in America, and you know this, addicted or co-addicted.
Yep.
6 out of 10 of them are mentally ill or have an undiagnosed mental illness. Half of them can't read a menu. And how do we expect folks to come into jail, leave, and never come back?
Right.
And 80 million people, according to Nation Outside, 80 million people in America have done at least one day incarcerated. At least one day. So when you talk about the incarcerated population, that affects all families. You talk about addictions. There ain't nobody listening out here that doesn't have somebody they know that's been either a victim or a survivor, in your case, of addictions. So Ignite was the answer that people have been waiting for. A year and a half into it, USA Today did a huge article because we tracked all of our data. And then that's what picked up. Harvard, they wanted to come and do a study. They studied it for 18 months. They had full access to everything, every court record, every jail file. And at that point, the National Sheriff Association picked up on it. They started building it out. Ignite became trademarked. And I'm happy to say, as of this recording, Ignite is in 23% of the states in America in one way or another. There's 26 sheriff's offices that are in full Ignite status. There's over 20 sheriff's offices that are in the process of launching Ignite. It's dropped, per Harvard, it's dropped recidivism if somebody's in Ignite by 23%. Like, there's no government program that has done that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it saves the economy because they're not re-offending, and it saves court costs, and it reduces civil liability in the jail, and it reduces jail population. Everything that we've been looking for, Ignite does.
The cost of police responding to calls when they're back out. And
we have our 31st commencement this May the 12th. Not graduate. 31st commencement program where we celebrate 30. I think there's 36 graduates, and between GEDs, diplomas, I mean, we have all sorts of classes. We are giving out our 100th GED diploma to our 100th recipient that day. I mean,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I would love to have you there to go see it, man. May the 12th. You'll cry, man.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Yeah,
I know. Like, for my personal experience going in there. And it's not rehab.
No.
When I was in MDOC prison, there were guys trying to teach me, mortgage scams and all this stuff for when I got out, and I'm like,
I know,
plugging my ears because I don't want to reoffend. But in with addiction, it's not always. Yeah, we're not like trying to go out and break the law. It just is.
What did you say? Remember the term? People out there that don't understand it. When you're an addict, especially opiates, you don't do it to get high. You do it
because you're dope sick.
That's it.
You just don't. I mean, me personally, I'm sure you've seen people withdrawing from opiates.
Yeah.
And
alcohol.
When it's heroin, it's like shakes.
Yeah.
You're puking. You got diarrhea.
Yeah.
You're hot, and then you're cold, and then you're hot, and this lasts for like 7 days. So. And it tails off. It kind of tapers off as you go, but those first 3 days are like, and it's just in that moment, the world is so dark. It's just everything's this big cloud over your head, and it's just so much easier to just one more. I never planned on using for another week. It was just always I'll just do one more, and then I'll figure out how I'm gonna quit.
Yeah,
and it's just a cycle,
Man.
So programs that are keeping people out of jail, or not just that. I mean, teaching them the skills to live a good life, at least have a job. Because if you're, as a business owner, any business owners out there, go to hire someone and they don't have a GED, they don't have a high school diploma, they're probably not getting a job. So what does that leave?
Generational poverty, man.
What does that leave for them? maybe
Nothing.
a roofing, some sort of general labor job where they're not,
getting paid under the table. Their bank is the party store. They pay 10, 15% to cash a check because they can't get ID to go cash a check. And then at the end of the day, something happens, the job cancels, you don't get paid. So now you're in that gap and you've got kids it's just
rent's due.
Gosh, man.
Then you got to figure out how to pay it.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I know people that it was just easier to go out and get
a hustle.
Yeah. Front some dope from the dope man, go sell it, make quick few bucks, do it again. And, that was how they survived.
Yeah, I know, man. Well, I say the most dangerous person in the jail is not the one who's committed the worst crime. It's the one who's hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
And that spills over into the street. If people that are out there that are hopeless, that's a scary spot to be. And shows like this and testimonies like yours, that's what brings hope, bro.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. I appreciate what you're doing. And you said 93 is when you started?
Yeah, June 2nd, 1993.
So that's an entire lifetime of service to the community.
Right.
What made you, when you're in high school, thinking of, or even maybe it was younger, what made you decide to become service to the community?
Yeah. Well, my dad and my grandfather were both Detroit police officers, and I'm the youngest of four. And so I grew up hearing police stories, and I was always fascinated with them. My grandpa was in the 45 race riots. He did 32 years on the job. My dad was in the 67 race riots in Detroit. And then he got out right after that. And I was born, as I said, in 72. And for some reason, man, it was always in my DNA to always help when people are crushed and to always want to be in the middle of chaos and to just maintain order. It was a calling. I know it sounds cliche to say that, but there's some people who are called to sing and some people are called to play sports. I was called to be a police officer and to serve people in chaos. And I've always had this ability to have a pulse rate of 50 when people are losing their mind. And so I knew I was going into police work. Ironically, when I started my 11th grade year, his name was Dr. Williams. He was a counselor. And he called me in, and I remember him saying, "Hey, for your second half of your career at Grand Blanc, what do you want to do when you're done?" I said, "I'm going to be a police officer." I knew it then because he said, not with a 1.9 grade point average. Because I did terrible in algebra and math and in geometry, and I didn't take school serious. And so I turned it around, got a 3.1 to graduate, got a $500 scholarship to the Grand Blanc Township Police Department to go to community college. And I went to community college, and that's where I saw my first death because I was an intern. Guy shot himself in the head, and his wife was there, and she found him, and we got dispatched, and I was just like, what is going on?
Right.
And I'm thinking, they don't teach this in school, but it forced me to learn how to deal with that. That's why I became an EMT at 18, became a medic at 20. And at that point, being a medic, walking into scenes where people were either not breathing, they were shot, they, got into a crash, or you had people that were, 2 people dead and 3 people alive, and how to triage it all. It allowed me to pour ice water in my veins to say, listen, these people need me at my very best. And if I don't know what I'm doing, then they're going to lose their life. And so I've always had this caregiving, if your world is crashing, call Chris mentality. And then that's what led me to police work. And I became, as I said, a police academy right here at Delta College in Saginaw in 1994. And went through the ranks. I'm the only sheriff since 1836 in Genesee County that's ever come from deputy to sheriff. And
awesome.
I knew long ago that I wanted to be an executive leader, but I love the police work. I became a detective in 2000. And at that point, I'm on a dope team, and, we're doing human trafficking investigations undercover, and you're doing Vice, and you're going into the underbelly of the world to see and do and to be a part of what keeps people safe at night so they can sleep in peace.
Yeah. So your next endeavor, what you're doing right now.
Yeah. I'm on your show.
Yeah. Well, you're running for running for governor.
That's right, baby. That's right. Governor of the state of Michigan.
Yes.
That's right.
So what made you decide to do that? That's a big job.
Big job. Yeah. It's a great transition though from, the sheriff to governor, because if you look at the roles of the two, there's 83 sheriffs in the state of Michigan, and Genesee County is a big county. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to do things that have truly reached state, national, and global audiences because of the work behind it. And when you look at the role of the sheriff being to enforce laws and maintain order, the governor's responsibility is the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Under the Constitution, enforce laws, maintain order. So it's just a scaling up. And so instead of doing it for 430,000 people, I'm gonna do it for 10 million.
Right.
But when it comes to the role of governor, you're running to be the commander in chief of the state, the CEO of the state. It's an executive leadership position. I got to be honest, man. I've always been built to be an executive leader, meaning I don't need the majority to tell me what's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. That's why I couldn't be in Congress. I couldn't be a rep or a senator. I need to be the one to try to get everybody together and say, okay, what makes the most sense? And in the end, I got to make the decision.
Try and unite people.
Yeah, because I believe in my heart. I believe that, it goes back to Ironman training. Like when that cannon goes off, it's on.
Right.
And so I knew the governor's race would open up based on, seats and people running in 2026. And I'd already been the sheriff. And so it's just a natural progression. And I say that because I wouldn't do it if I didn't know how to do the job. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it if I didn't have the right timing, which is an open seat. But the third thing, which is the reason why I drove an hour to come here to help, is I build relationships. Mm-hmm. I am intentional on investing in people with no strings attached, helping people. That's the most powerful thing that I think people are looking for in leadership is, what is your motive? What is your intention? If your motive is pure and your intentions are pure, I'll follow that person. So I'm running because I'm the guy that I'd vote for.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to your calling, right?
Yeah.
The people, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like with me, what I do, personal training.
That's right.
I think of it, it's a calling, but the word I always use is, this is my purpose.
That's right.
This is what I was here to do.
Yeah.
Just help people. And sounds like you were here to be calm, be in your paramedic training, be calm, be cool, and make people's lives better.
That's right. That's right. There's a great saying, and it says, if not you, then who? Yep. And just like you being a dad, and and those that are out there listening, you've got people that share your DNA, people that are looking up to you. You've got, maybe you're taking care of elderly parents, or you've got a neighbor down the road that you're looking out for, or whatever. Your audience is vast. If you're not helping them, or if you're not protecting them, then who is? Is it the wolf?
Yep. Could be.
Not with me here.
Nope. Well,
yep.
I think it's, I definitely think it's in your wheelhouse, man, because all the fitness stuff,
right? That's
created all that. I'm just thinking the mental resilience that it's taken to do, the Ironmans and the bodybuilding shows. I know that's
6 days a week, man. People ask me, look at you. that doesn't come by accident. Mm-mm. And you got to plan your meals. If you went in my truck today, you'd see my chicken and rice in the bottom floorboard. You'll see, a protein bar that I had this morning. And, I did, I did just a quick 100 set of push-ups in my office already today. And I'll be at the gym. I train 6 days a week at 52 years old because it is just as much a mental training as a physical training. And I think people respect. I look at folks that, and it comes down to discipline. Discipline just means that you can finish the job. Mm-hmm. And those little deposits of discipline in one area, and we've talked about it, can spill over another area. And that's what being physically fit does. If I can discipline the one piece of machinery that I've been given that is the best that I have control over, then that tells me I can be disciplined in all these other areas.
Right. And then the fitness, it kind of works as a leveler for me, whether I would say mad, sad, glad, no matter what I'm feeling, it just kind of brings me back down to homeostasis.
Yeah.
Right? Where I can, if I have decisions to make business wise, I can do them from a non-emotional state,
right?
Which has benefited me in the long run. My grandma always used to tell me, if you have a big decision, sleep on it.
That's right.
Don't make a big decision.
I do some of my best thinking on a bike in 130-degree dry heat sauna for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's all by myself, just thinking and listening. That's the think tank right there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's 100% kind of a meditative state for me when I'll pop my earbuds in, I have my workout plan that I'm doing, and I go through it. And I just, I like the pump feeling. I'm sure you remember that, your bodybuilding days. So get that. And
I still got him, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I just want the record to know. He talked in past tense, bro. I'm still bodybuilding.
Right. Well, yeah. The Ironman stuff, I'm blown away with.
Thanks,
man. Anybody who does that, even marathons or really anything bodybuilding, because like you said, the nutritional side is that's the harder part for me because I really like pizza. Yeah. So
you can eat pizza, you just got to earn it.
Yeah. To get down to like stage body fat percentages takes a lot of dedication. So
you mentioned Jelly Roll. Did you hear what he posted with Benny the other day?
I didn't hear
he said that his goal is to be on the cover of Men's Health by June of 2026. And I know Jelly very well, and he's lost over 200 pounds already.
Yeah.
And
I've been following that part.
Right. And he's becoming a face, not only just, his concerts are one thing, his music and his lyrics, real music for real people, the real problems. Mm-hmm. But his journey of health is a whole nother avenue that he's going down. And what I admire about it is he talks real about his struggles. And he'll talk that he was an emotional food eater. Again, I grew up a heavy kid, and, I don't have any addictions except for food as a driving force for all of us, right? And when you tie it to emotion or you tie it to stress, that's what happens. And the fact that he's being so bold about it, he's going to do it. I'm telling you, the way he's done, he's lost 200 pounds in a year, and he's done it the right way. And it's a great testimony, man.
Yeah.
He's a real deal.
To see it. I'd love to meet him.
Did you go to the concert he did up here in Midland Fairgrounds?
I didn't. I have a fast pitch softball team.
Oh, okay.
And our state tournament conflicted with it.
Oh, I was like, right on.
Yeah.
He was right in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
it was
stuff.
in Auburn at first. They just moved it to Midland last year.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah. He's coming back to little Ford Field May 18th.
Yeah.
He's touring with Post Malone.
So what's he like as a person?
So, Jelly's his it's not even a stage name, it's his nickname. His mom gave him Jelly Roll because he was always a heavy kid, and he ate donuts. And she was always struggling, and anything I'm telling you is nothing that he hasn't told me personally and publicly, so no disrespect. But, his mom struggled with mental illness, and, his mom and dad struggled throughout life, and he grew up in a small town outside of Nashville, and, he went in and out of juvenile facilities and regular jail, and, they hit him up with aggravated assault and dope charges. And so all that to say, food became that thing for him. The guy behind all that is Jason DeFord. That's the real guy. And Jason DeFord has morphed into the guy he used to be and this new person. So everybody knows him as Jelly Roll, but his real name being Jason DeFord is who he is, no matter if he's on stage, no matter where he is the real deal. And, you being a returning citizen, you got to learn street smarts when you're locked up, right? Mm-hmm. You either ride solo and gut it out, or you link up with somebody and you gut it out and you survive, right? Yep. And you learn to read people and know who's real and who's not, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing in police work. Yep. I can tell when people are telling the truth, and I can tell physiologically when they're not.
Right.
And when you have somebody like that, it's easy to just look past all the fame and know that they're just there for Jelly Roll. Jason DeFord is the real deal. I promise you. No matter what you see, he's the same guy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's why I will go where he goes, and we have built a relationship. I've never signed a contract with him. I've never exchanged, a number with him. He doesn't have a cell phone. It's just, he just takes care of people.
Well, and you don't see people. I know he came and performed
Twice
in the Genesee County Jail.
Yeah.
You don't see like musicians, even,
Right.
or people who have been to jail and struggled with addiction. Maybe they're actors. You
Yeah.
don't see them get involved
Come back.
with it quite
and
like
think of how
he is.
powerful that testimony would be to the dudes
Mhm.
and the women that are left behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I have so much respect for him.
Yeah, and true authenticity.
Yep.
That's one of my
I got to tell you,
most respectful traits that someone can have is because
Right.
when they are who they are, they're vulnerable.
yeah,
I have a ton of respect for that. So.
I hear you, man. I the first time he came to the Genesee County Jail. Now, mind you, the whole thing started because I was asked to meet him in 2023 at the CMA Awards because a friend of mine was also a morning show host down in Detroit on YCD. He's like, man, this new guy coming up through the music ranks, he's got a lot of things that connect with Ignite, what you're doing. And so I was supposed to meet him at Music Row, and I missed him. And so later on that year, I cut a video and I just sent it to him. I was in my car and I just cut a video and I sent it to the radio station. They sent it to him. So he fired a video back. He goes, hey, Sheriff Swanson, I like what you're doing up there. I'm going to come up and see you. Then he came up in December of 2023. And we had the top of the jail in Genesee County is the 5th floor. And I had over 200 inmates in there. 60% of them were there for 20-year life offenses. And we had 100 people from the outside come in. We had all the media. We had a stage set up. And I've always loved Johnny Cash. I've always loved the song Man in Black because he wears it for all those people that he's representing. And I call Jelly the modern day Johnny Cash. And he comes and I do the introduction. I'm sicker than a dog. If you ever watch the video, see my voice is all crackly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just sick. And I'm just cheering everybody on because I can't, hold it back. And I'm getting all excited. And we have a graduation there. So we're graduating, GEDs, diplomas, barber college, electricians, welders. And after the graduation, he decides to do a concert. He's got his guitarist there. And the first song he plays is Johnny Cash. Folsom Prison, man.
Yep.
And I was just looking back thinking, I got Jelly Roll in the Genesee County Jail performing in front of 200 inmates, my favorite Johnny Cash song.
Awesome.
It was great. So then he gets done and he does 4 or 5 more other songs, does Save Me and all the ones that we like. And he gets done and he goes, Sheriff, can I ask a favor with one of your graduates? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, man, you graduated from Barber College, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, I got to perform at the Jingle Fest at LCA, Little Caesars tonight. How about edging my beard up? And dude's like, all right. So we take him back. This dude who's in there for life offenses is giving Jelly an edge on his beard. And he looks over to me and he goes, you know what, Sheriff, you're missing is music. And the UAW, Steve Dawes, a dear friend of mine, is there. And he's like, we'll pay for it. So then Jelly came back July of last year to launch the Jailhouse Music Studio. And it's the top line equipment. I got inmates that are writing songs, recording songs. They own the intellectual material. I got mothers writing lullabies and singing them to their daughters and their sons. Mm-hmm. I mean, we partnered up with Carnegie Hall. We're launching another one in Detroit at the Juvenile Center. I'm just telling you, man, this is life-changing stuff.
Yeah, opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I had an opportunity when I got out of jail or treatment, and it was just a job. That's all. Sometimes all people need is that opportunity.
That's it.
What you guys are doing is awesome.
Yeah. We've you bring up a great point. You can prepare everybody and you can give them the hope, but you got to link that out. The aftercare is so key is, IDs and driver restoration and stable housing and, parenting. A lot of these people have never been parented and now they're parents.
Yep.
So what do you have to keep them from falling through the cracks? It's a complex issue, which is one of the many reasons running for governor is, you got to be in the position to call the shots in order for it to be modeled. And I can do it a lot from where I'm at, but the more influence, the more ability.
Yeah, to truly change.
Yeah.
Make some changes, right?
Right.
I have a friend that's got Community Construct here in Midland.
Yeah, I know. That's funny.
He does roofing, right? And he takes people from
the
My
him.
Hope program, recovery.
Hardworking people, I bet.
Yeah, and he teaches them how to work, but also they incorporate some things with recovery's priority.
Yeah.
And so even employers are starting to do this around, and it's just really cool that because when I went to prison, there wasn't anything like this.
I know, man.
People weren't. There was still more of a stigma around substance abuse, and I feel like we're making we're making headway. So
Yeah.
that's part of why I'm so vulnerable about what
Yeah.
my experience is. So,
But you personally take away the stigma of people that are, coming out of prison, and you are the beacon of light for people. But for folks that don't know that world, the more you talk about it, the more it softens. I always compare people's perceptions versus perspective. Perspective is the most powerful thing that you can look into. If you just count on your perception, then you're going to misjudge people your whole life. And you're going to wonder why relationships are blowing up. You don't understand this. You don't understand that. I've never been locked up, and you've never been a cop.
right.
But right here, we're getting into our perspective of life. But if I didn't know who you were, and I just passed by the studio, and I kept looking at him like, oh, that's who Adam is. I mean, he's that guy. He's that guy. But I've never talked to you, or I saw you at a Speedway gas station, or I saw you, walking down in at the gym, and we didn't ever communicate. We're all going on our own perceptions. Like, that gets us nowhere.
Yeah, and you could have preconceived notions
Yes.
to people that wear their hat backwards like
That's
this.
right.
Or,
Cock to the
based on-
side.
Yeah, based on, and they could be
Right.
a tax-paying, upstanding
Yeah,
citizen.
good father, good husband,
yeah.
or worse yet, somebody goes by and put some dirt on you, like, oh, that dude, man, he just got out of prison 9 years ago, man, he's an addict, not realizing that you were an addict,
Right.
that you've been dry, and the fact that you're a business owner, you're a trainer, you're a mentor. Like, how about those details?
Right.
We've all done stuff. Everybody listening has all done stuff in the past that they can look back and go, man, why'd I do that? We've all been given second chances. I talk about it as second chances. You've gotten grace when you didn't see it, and you've gotten mercy when you didn't deserve it.
Yep.
Never forget. I'm no better than you.
Yeah, so shifting gears
Yeah.
here, you were one thing I really love about your policy is the animal stuff.
Yeah.
Because my wife is very passionate about animals, and
Yeah.
she runs a cat rescue.
Good.
So there's problems with overpopulation
Yep.
and all this. And I just think it's when people abuse animals, they shouldn't own them, right?
Dude.
And
Have you been
I
reading
heard
about
that.
Protect My Pet?
I was
Yeah.
like, yes.
Right.
Somebody,
Yeah.
please.
So what you're talking about, obviously in this police work, we see people that abuse, torture, neglect, starve, beat animals to death, and I will hunt you down if you do that. And I work with a great prosecutor, and we'll arrest and bring you in and protect those animals. And what I found, man, is the laws aren't harsh for people that torture and beat animals to death. And so I can't change what judges do. I can't change what the laws are, but I came up with two things that is under what's called the Protect My Pet registry in legislation. And we took it all the way 2 years, wrote the bills, submitted them last year, and they died in lame duck. Goes back to being a shot caller. When I'm governor, day one, boom, this is going to be my priority, is protect pets, among other things. And what I'm saying is, we have gone into places where we've got 2 dead dogs or a dead cat or something, and there's 2 or 3 other live animals. And if that owner doesn't give up ownership, those animals are taken and stuck in cages until the case is adjudicated and over.
Right.
We're doing 2 things. Number one, you get convicted of animal abuse, neglect, or torture, you're on a pet registry that you cannot own an animal for a certain period of time. If it's a misdemeanor, felony, multiple felonies, or habitual, there's a gradual time where you cannot own. If you're a habitual offender, you have a lifetime ban on owning an animal, whether it's a breeder, whether it's buying fish.
Right.
Like you've ruined your right.
Right. Or dog fighting.
Doesn't
something like
matter.
that.
Yeah.
That's
If you're
serious.
convicted, you're on a registry that you can't own an animal for a certain period of time. And it's already, it makes sense. There's a direct connection between animal abuse and abuse on children and domestic partners and mentally ill and elderly. If you're going to do that to an animal that can't defend themselves, you're going to just slide into that. The second thing, do you know in Michigan, animals are considered property in the law? We're going to change that with a simple definition switch to living property. So now they fall under the forfeiture concept, where if the owner doesn't give up ownership, the courts can take that animal within 22 days and rehome them. So they're not stuck in cages at humane societies and animal control.
Right.
Doesn't that make sense? So if there's one thing you're looking to vote for in 2026, vote for somebody who's going to protect animals, because that's what I want, and that's the Protect My Pet side.
Yeah. So I really appreciate, I know you're really busy guys. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you taking the time, come up here, talk to me.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I'd love to hit the gym, hit the iron with you sometime.
I know, dude.
So
I know.
let's book it.
I know it. When we're off camera, man, we might have to do it and say any of our followers, our VIP followers, that can hit at the gym and you get to work out with us. And
we'll record it too.
Yeah.
Both do a mirror.
there you go. I don't know. You got me kind of beat right there.
I don't know. You got it covered up. Black slimming too.
That's it.
That's why
it.
I couldn't tell. It's slimming. Still,
Yeah.
It's the suit.
For the record, I tell this, I know we're getting done, but I put my first uniform on in 1993. I had the same duty belt around my waist as I did in 1993. So kept that waist lean, baby.
For that amount of time.
I kept that waist lean.
Well, and then just the fitness side of things,
Yeah.
keeping mobile is just,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I see it too often. People older, my grandma couldn't get up from a chair. So.
Yeah, man. Well, you keep spreading the good message of mental, spiritual, and physical strength, and watch your audience be fed. And whatever you all need out there, you call Swanson. I got you covered.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Till next time, grateful for all of you.